So I have betrayed myself. My old phone was kind of in a terrible state. It was honestly the front camera was jacked up, the rear camera was jacked up. It was having a hard time charging. And so there was a deal for transferring your number where I could get an iPhone SE for almost nothing. I hate iPhone. I never wanted to own an iPhone. I didn't like iPhones, but it was like, this is too good of a deal to pass up. So this is my first time streaming on a iPhone. I've never owned an iPhone, and now I own a stupid iPhone. It's the iPhone SE, so it's literally the cheapest one from 2020. And I got it for like dirt cheap for just switching my number with no payment plan. Like, I completely own the phone, even if I cancel the plan. So here I am, betraying myself, my Android loyal self, on an iPhone. I feel so wrong. This is so wrong. You don't know how much of an Android girl I am. I don't iPhone. Also, when people wanted to FaceTime, like, my excuse was always, I don't have an iPhone. So then I wasn't forced into FaceTiming. It's like, I don't have an iPhone. I can't FaceTime. I can't do that. I don't have an iPhone. And now I own the stupid iPhone. And I still find, I honestly still like, Android better. To be quite honest, as far as like the actual function, but that just may be familiarity, because I'm just used to using an Android. So as far as like daily function, using the apps, there's so many things where it's like I had to go online to figure out how to even do it on this phone. That's like just smooth for me on an Android. But I will say the camera quality is really good, even on this cheap iPhone. So that's good. But as far as like just general daily use, like, I did not like Apple Maps. I hated Apple Maps. Like, I downloaded Google Maps onto my iPhone, and I still like how Google Maps works on the Android. I feel so wrong. I feel like I've betrayed myself. A lot of people have come in while I've been ranting on, Dee, what's up? While I've been ranting on about my iPhone. Okay, let's scroll through the comments. We'll see how different or bad or the same I can follow the comments here. Hello to everyone. Sarah says, my friend just got that deal on the iPhone SE. Yeah. I was like, it's a good deal for like a 2020 phone. I don't know the last time I had a phone that was only like a year old. Because like most of my phones, I wait a couple generations and then I just buy them flat out. And so like for me to have a phone that's newer than 5 years old is just weird. Princess Pamela loves her iPhone. There's a lot of people who love their iPhones. It's just weird for me. It's like I feel like an idiot who's like relearning how to use a smartphone because I'm so used to Android. And it is not Verizon. Sarah says, get a case that makes it look like an Android. I mean, they all look the same, to be quite honest. Like, every cell phone looks the same now. It's in a case. But the thing is, it's not going to change how the apps function. Like, that's the weird part. It's the actual function of the phone in my hand, and I'm just used to Android. Ramona says, Dawn, I still feel like I'm cheating, and I've had iPhones for about 7 years. I change my phone so infrequently, unless I get forced out, I'll probably use this phone for 7 years. Mildred says, your dreads are really growing. Thank you. It's so weird that I can put them in like 2 ponytails now. And I had to do something to get them out my face. Sarah says, Apple Maps is terrible and I use Google Maps on my iPhone always. Yay! Yeah, like, honestly, like, once I changed to Google Maps, navigating on the iPhone wasn't as bad, but I hated Apple Maps. Like, I was like, this is dumb. And so I downloaded Google Maps onto the iPhone. Kelly B, what's up? Scrapping Fox 214 says no such thing as a cheap iPhone. For what I got this phone for switching, I got the one that was, I could have got it for free. But I wanted the one with a little bit more space just in case I started using it to film on. And so it still cost me not what I expected to pay for an iPhone. Kelly B says Apple Maps should just go away. Total waste. It's because, like, Apple wants everything to be Apple based, and that can be good, and it can be bad. And I think with Apple Maps, it's like, how can we get the Google Maps market without looking too much like we're copying what we're doing? And I personally was like, nah, never mind. Ramona says, I just got the 12 Pro Max, but I had the 7 Plus for about 7 years. See, that's how I'm going to be. I'm going to hold on to this thing till, like, it doesn't function anymore, because that's how I roll. The only reason I replaced my phone is because it finally got to the point where it wasn't worth fixing it. But it was getting so terrible, like, just using it almost wasn't worth it. Freedom Dove, what's up? I keep forgetting the camera's on that side, and then I keep putting my finger over the camera trying to see the chat. FDM215 says, YouTubers seem to love using their phones for filming. Here's the thing about your phone. It's always with you. So if you want to capture something really quickly, like, I use other cameras. Like, I have a little Polaroid camera now, and I have a GoPro as well. But your phone's with you, so if you're in a situation where you want to film really quickly, like, you have a camera in your pocket, and a better camera than most people had as actual digital cameras a few years back. So, like, even if you have an Android, like, compared to digital cameras just a few years ago, like the affordable ones, not like expensive DSLRs, like, you probably have a better camera in your pocket than you can buy as a camera. And so that's why a lot of people end up using it, just because it's, this totally accessible camera that's, like, right there. Princess Pamela, I got my phone through Cricket. Ramona Hopewell says Apple Maps stink. I use Google Maps too. Nancy McIntyre says, have a nice holiday, everyone, and have a nice Thanksgiving. Yay! I keep forgetting Thanksgiving is coming. Like, whoop. Silver Dreams Travel Diary says, hey, Dawn, how are you? Have been watching you for some time. Where are you now? Right now, I'm still in Oregon. I am not in Portland. I finished my last day at the warehouse, and I started booking it. But I was in Eugene, Oregon. Didn't have a lot of trouble. I did not have trouble parking in Salem, but Portland was a freaking nightmare. So I've headed back in a southerly direction. I'm just outside Portland in a parking lot at a little shopping center, but I'm outside, like, the main area of Portland. I'm south of that now. It was just too much of a pain, and I was just there for the job. Che Baker says, I'm going to start my lock journey next week. Congratulations. I went through a bunch of weird periods with my locks where I had to, like, convince myself to be patient because I didn't like the length, but it was that middle stage that you just kind of go through. Ramona Hopewell says, my 7 Plus was still good, but my daughter and I switched companies, so I got the 12. There you go. I mean, if it's a good deal and it's something you're going to use for a while, might as well do it. Freedom Dove says, my iPhone 6 is a dyno. The mic sucks on it. Oh, that sucks. Because usually the mics on, like, the phones are pretty decent most of the time. Like, I would even say with my Android, I never really had issues with the mic. Sometimes the camera quality was meh, but the mic was usually decent. Debbie Hawley, you did make it on time. You were here for the live. Also, the SE is really small, so I feel like I have to be like really close on the screen to read. So I'm sorry, like I'm like, hey guys, all right. Here. Nancy McIntyre says I have the iPhone 5, but they wanted money to store pictures. Now I have the Samsung Galaxy S10e. I love the camera on it. Are people having my voice come in and out? Let me know if there's some issues picking up my voice. I wonder if it's this case. Anyway. Racer XTV says, I do like iPhones can always call or text other Apple devices. Sorry, it keeps fading on me. Even without a provider, just off Wi-Fi, pretty cool. What I never liked is that I'm the opposite. I hated that because I hated that other people would assume I had an iPhone and want to use features like that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have an Apple device. So it was like, it for me, it felt like this elitist circle where like, oh, you're not one of us because you're not an Apple person. And I'm like, I'm still not an Apple person. Like, I reluctantly have this iPhone because it was like the best thing for me to get at the moment. Nancy McIntyre, thank you for the $5 super chat and the adorable little super sticker. Much appreciated. Buffering. I wonder if that's... Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can figure this out. How does iPhone work? I'm wondering. Oh, shoot. Let's see something. I have no idea how this looks on the other side. I'm trying to check the connection out. I'm looking at a secondary screen just to see how it looks for me. So give me a second. Actually, this might be better because this way I can watch the chat. Except it'll look like I'm not looking at the screen if I do it this way. All right. Woo. Okay. All right. Let's see what's up. Well, I won't be able to listen to myself, so I won't know how the mic is doing. Skip survey. Yes, the sound is breaking. Okay. All right. Well, let me know if anybody else is experiencing issues. I just pulled it up so I can follow the stream a little better on my secondary device here. Princess Pamela's World says parking is much easier in North Portland. I don't even know the difference, north, south. All I know is I was in Portland, and I was honestly trying to stay pretty close to the job. So, you know, I was there as long as I needed to be, and then I just headed south towards Salem. Michelle Christmas says, I just upgraded from the iPhone 7 to a 12, had to watch YouTube videos to figure it out. Well, I've never owned an iPhone. From the first iPhone till now, I've literally never owned an iPhone. I have been a Android loyal person, and I loved Android. You know, you can get a higher end Android phone, you can get a lower end Android phone, and I really love that. You know, that it had that flexibility. If you want better performance, you just pay more for a better phone. And so this is literally my first iPhone ever. And I'm having a hard adjustment to it. I've been Android loyal since Android 0. I don't think it was called 0. I think it was called 1.0. Android had like they had like food names like gingerbread and stuff like that, but I lost track of the names in years. FDM215 says, I need to reevaluate my phone plan. I just hate to get into it. Yeah. It is kind of a pain in the butt transferring my number, and I had to go through like calling Cricket and doing a whole thing. It was whatever. Nancy McIntyre says, I want a new phone, but don't want to have to pay for space on the iPhone. Honestly, my iCloud is full because I did own an iPad for a little while, and all the stuff for my iPad is still on there. And I basically had the iPad for like a work thing, and I didn't like the iPad, honestly, as much as I liked my Android tablet for the same reason. So everything is stored on the phone, and if I want to clear up the phone, I just transfer it to my computer. So it's just not that big of a deal to me, one way or the other. Let me see. Static Camper Van, what's up? Nice to see you in the comments. 558. Oops. Didn't mean to hit that. Julia Tyson says, why you do a cooking show? I'm not really a cook, to be quite honest. I'm not really a cook. I'm more I heat it up. Elisa Brown, thank you for the $4 super chat. I think I might have missed somebody too. Bus Big Buford. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Oh man, did I catch everybody? That's a name. Bus Big. Am I saying that right? Buford? I love the higher. Where was I? It says I'm buffering a bit. That's weird. Wait a minute. What are you? Ah! Go away, screen. That's not what I want. Alright, we'll see if that helps or not. I had a couple things going on here in the land of devices. Racer XT says, now you're in the circle. I don't want to be in the circle. I hate the circle. It feels too elitist. Ramona Hopewell says, I miss my Galaxy Note from about 8 years ago. I always loved the Notes. The Samsung Galaxy Note phones were some of my favorite phones, even though that was the phone that sort of maligned Android for the longest time. And the funny thing is, like, people were talking about Androids exploding, and it was literally one phone. It was one Samsung phone, one generation of all the Notes that had never existed, and then all you heard was iPhone people, I guess I'm one of them now, walking around talking about, well, at least my phone doesn't explode. It was one phone, one specific phone made by Samsung in one generation, and Android never lived it down. No Home Nomad, what's up to you in Las Vegas? Did I freeze? Freezing? You froze. Oh, I guess the freezing went away. Racer XT says the new iPhone 12 mini is actually smaller than the SE. That will probably be my next phone. Oh my God, the SE is already too small. Like both of my previous Androids were bigger than this SE. Like this SE is too small. It feels too small. I'm not a fan of the smallness. That was another reason I like the Samsung Galaxy Notes. They were like big enough as a phone without feeling like a tablet. So that's why the Galaxy Notes, they got really expensive and I couldn't afford them anymore. But the SE is too small. It was just the price for what I was replacing, which was becoming unusable, was worth it. But the SE is way too small for me. I wouldn't want anything smaller than this. I don't like that. I would probably have gone, if I had the money and I wasn't like just doing this because I was broke and it was the easiest way to replace my phone without spending $1 billion. But like my ideal, if I had to do an iPhone, I would have preferred one of the bigger ones. I would never want it to be smaller. This iPhone SE is way too small for me. Nancy McIntyre says, I wish I could help more. You deserve it. I feel like when I send super chats, it's like tipping you and I tip everyone else. So why not my favorite channel? Thank you so much. People are saying I'm frozen, but I'm watching my stream and I'm not seeing me freezing. It's weird because that's why I pulled it up on another device. Weird. Nancy McIntyre, I am not from Delaware. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. That is my original home city and state. Patrina Gilbert, good night. Glad you jumped in. Freedom Dove, thank you. Yes, Dawn is from Baltimore. That's where I was originally from. Even though the last few years I've basically lived in the San Francisco Bay Area of California. I hate saying that because I was rarely to never in San Francisco. I was usually in Berkeley or Oakland. But that was if I say San Francisco Bay Area, at least people know where to look in California. You know. Big Buford. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Marty Malone says I've been fine sound and picture wise the whole time. If it does happen, maybe just click out and then come back in. Because on my end, I'm watching my stream and it looks like it's pretty good. Racer XTV says, Dawn, I'll be honest, sometimes I go to bed listening to your videos. Your voice tone is relaxing. Oh, that's so sweet. Elisa Brown says, hey from Salem, what's up? And Racer XTV says, same here. I'm Samsung loyal, but probably Apple next. You know what I've really liked is the Google Pixels. And right now still, because I have two phones just as an emergency, and my second phone is a Google Pixel. It's a Google Pixel 4, and I think they're on the 6. So it's like a couple of generations old, but I love my Pixel. The Pixel's been great. Freedom Dove says, I just had a flip phone before my iPhone 6. I love it. I really wanted to go back to a basic phone at one point, and it just didn't make sense. When I was stage managing, I at least needed a smartphone at minimum where I could get like emails on the go. But I tried. I love excuses for people not to contact me. Like, sorry, I can't do that. My phone can't do it. I sound horrible, but you know, I'm a natural introvert. It's like, I like to be around people. I like when it's good and engaging, but I really need that me time to like recharge and get back in like a good headspace. So yeah, sometimes it's like, that's what I liked about not having an iPhone as well. When my friends was like, hey, we can FaceTime. It's like, nope, can't do that. Not possible. Dorian H says, I'm late. Hi, Dawn. You're not that late. I don't think we've been going that long. 25 minutes. Ramona Hopewell says, I'm looking to buy an iPad soon. My iPad is like ancient history. It's first generation. I mean, if it still works, honestly, I use stuff till like it literally doesn't work, and it either breaks so bad it's not worth fixing because it's so old, the technology becomes incompatible, or like I really just need the upgrade for like a work reason. Because like I said, I tried to go back to a dumb phone, and because of the type of work I was doing at the time, it just didn't make sense, and I needed a smartphone. Oh, and another thing, people who remember, way back when I was living in my minivan, I was doing Uber Eats, Amazon Flex, Winolo, Blue Crew. Like, I was doing a bunch of apps for work, and that's how like I was making money in between theater jobs. And so I needed a smartphone, and it needed certain specs to not explode from running all those apps. So unfortunately, a dumb phone wasn't in the cards, but I wasn't going to get any more than the minimum I needed to be able to do my job apps. I kind of miss doing Amazon Flex, but I could not make it work with this vehicle. But it was really cool. For what I liked about Amazon Flex more than like DoorDash and Uber Eats and all that was you picked an assignment off the app, you went and picked up a bunch of packages, and then you just drop stuff off. Well, unless you had Whole Foods, if you did Whole Foods, but even Whole Foods was the same thing, because you went and picked up everything, and then you just drop stuff off, and you got a flat fee for your deliveries, whether it was Whole Foods or packages. And I would be afraid to even put what I have in the app, let alone show up to pick up packages with it, because the thing is, like, I have a house in here, so be like, oh, you can take a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't even know if they would accept me with a commercial vehicle. But it was I liked Amazon Flex more than, like, because like with DoorDash and Uber Eats, I couldn't do Uber People because you have to have a vehicle with seats to do Uber People. But when I had my minivan, I would do Uber Eats. And with the Uber Eats, you were sitting around waiting for jobs, so you didn't know how much money you were going to make at any point. With the DoorDash, it was the same thing, and Postmates just sucked where I was. Like, I wouldn't even get it. I signed up for Postmates too, and I never got orders. And so you never really knew what you were going to make in a day, and you were always having to judge if the driving was worth it. But at least with like Amazon Flex, it was like you opened the app, you saw what. Now you had to be really, because like they would just run out of work, but if you timed it right and you woke up and you just like grabbed some work. And I did all kinds of weird things with packages. I had like packages all over the top of my bed, shoved under my bed. I had things in the front seat, and people would look weird at my van because I'd open my minivan, and instead of it being an empty van like the other people who showed up with minivans and SUVs, I of course got house stuff in there, and I made it work with the minivan. But once I got bigger than the minivan, it was kind of something that I couldn't really pull off. And also, I ended up with some jobs where I didn't really need to do Flex for the longest time, and then like now I've sized myself out of it. But I liked Flex because it had a flat amount of money that you were going to make for your efforts, which you never knew that when you were delivering food orders. You could do a lot of driving and not make enough money to make it worth it, because you have to factor in gas, you have to factor in the distance from like where you are when you told to pick up the order to the restaurant. Sometimes you would get held up in the restaurant, then you have to drive to the person's house, and you never really knew what kind of neighborhood you were driving in and how cramped it was going to be. It was a pain in the butt. I never fell in love with delivering food, but I didn't mind the packages. Anyway, I went off on a tangent there, friends. Hopefully I didn't freeze doing that for anybody. And now I've lost the chat, so now I'm trying to find it again. I went from smartphones to talking about apps that I used to use for work. Charmel says it has got to suck that you can't cook. I mean, like, not really. There's plenty of stuff. Like, I can heat stuff up. But, like, I've never been into, like, making recipes and all of that. Like, I'm super basic. So, like, there's plenty of stuff I like that doesn't take any much more effort than heating up and warming up and throwing it together. You know, like, I've been making wraps for myself that I find are delicious. They're mostly vegetables, but it's not really cooking. Like, you throw a bunch of stuff in a wrap, you roll it up, and then you eat it. Done. No cooking involved. So it's like, I don't enjoy cooking. I'm sure I could cook something if I put in the effort, but I'm just not that into, like, cooking, you know. I know how to boil an egg and, toast and and heat it up on the stove. I can throw some stuff together, but I'm just not a cook. And it doesn't really suck. It's just something I've never been into. Jan's Journey 2021 said, "Hey, Dawn, I've got a Note 9. I love it." Marty Malone says, "You've come to the dark side. Welcome." Well, technically, I'm straddling the line because I still have, like, an Android I use as well. Static Camper Man says, "iPhones had exploding batteries too." Ha! Nobody talks about that. Freedom Dove says, "I got the 6S Plus because it was the biggest phone I could find that still had a regular mic jack." Yeah, they're eliminating those. And the new iPhones and probably Androids are going to follow. Now, like, they don't include a charger. And they have some BS about it being for the environment, which is, like, total BS. It's just now you're going to... Because, like, usually if your phone still works, you're going to, like, sell that phone or give it away. And you're going to want to give the charger away with the phone or when you sell it. So it's not like your charger's going to roll over. So, yeah, like, the new phones... Yeah, Freedom Dove, the new iPhones aren't going to have chargers with them. So that's the new thing. In fact, I got a charging cable. I didn't get a charging brick, which isn't so bad because I could just hook it up to ones I already had. But yeah, like, the new excuse is for the environment. They're not including chargers with the phones. BS, because everybody's going to run and buy chargers after they get a new phone. Did I say bunny in here? I'm doing a double thing right now. I'll find out in a second. Vanlife Shorts, thank you for the $50 super chat. Says, "I got an S20 Ultra, Galaxy all the way, LOL. Happy Thanksgiving." Happy Thanksgiving to you. Patrina Gilbert says, "I have an Android on Sprint and Virgin Mobile data here." The war! Android versus iPhone. Racer XTV said, "Have you ever tried Google Fi as a provider?" I actually want to switch to Google Fi because I want to try that out. I have not used it yet. I've been doing a lot of research on it. But it is something I want to try as a phone plan at some point. It's just such a pain in the arse to switch your number. So I haven't tried it out yet. And I don't want to lose my phone number. Too many people have it. Auntie Franny says, "Born and raised in Oakland, California, moved to the East Coast back in April of this year, loving it here in Delaware." The reason why I would not go back to the East Coast is winter. I have good access to outrunning winter on this side of the world. Vanlife with Crystal, what's up? Demalia J, you are getting me live. Nancy McIntyre says, I wish they had the G2 Android with the keyboard. I hate only having a touchscreen. Oh my God. Nancy McIntyre, I gave up my keyboard so reluctantly, like right at the point where like they were eliminating keyboards on phones, like I was still desperately clinging to having a physical keyboard. And yeah, I eventually had to give in to the slate generation, as I like to call it, because now all the phones look alike. Like the iPhone, they don't look different enough that I care. Bunny plays here. I did see you. What's up, girl? I'm a little behind in the chat, and I'm watching two screens right now. So, I've come to the dark side, Bunny. I now have an iPhone. I can't even say it, seriously. I can't believe I have it. The iPhone. It's so weird. Oh my gosh, I'm resistant. It's so long. Kelly B says, FaceTime. I barely want to talk, much less video. Exactly. I mean, there have been some times with specific people who have iPhones where I did wish I could FaceTime, but the number of people who I know who have iPhones and the amount of those people I actually want to spend time on FaceTime with is about this big. So having the excuse not to FaceTime felt really, really great. And yes, there are alternatives. Like, you can Zoom over a phone, actually. You can use Google Duo. But people who casually say, hey, let's FaceTime, I could always avoid that. Now, I still can. But I guess not. I told the whole internet I have an iPhone. Racer XTV bringing up the sidekick. The sidekick was bombing. I love that. You had your little flip up. Like, you were the coolest kid on the block when you had the sidekick. The sidekick, it was the jam. Tina's the outsider says, my laptop feels like it's dying. I have too much stuff on it. You might want to check your recycle bin. And just like your temp files, if you can get rid of both of those, sometimes they end up taking up a bunch of space. Excuse me, I'll be right back. Oh man, I'm so gross, man. Gross. I'm bringing the superstar over. Say hi, Vicky. Say hi. Say hi to everybody. You're like, no? No? What are you doing? What are you doing? Say hi. Say, oh, Mickey, you're so pretty, you don't understand. You take me by the heart and you take me by the hand. Oh, Mickey, you're so pretty, you don't understand. I don't know the words, Mickey. Oh, what you do, Mickey, break my heart, Mickey. I don't actually know all the words. I'm just making up what I don't know. He's allowing this right now, but he really wants me to put him down. Oh my goodness. It was so hard leaving him in the truck and working at the warehouse. And I told the guy, I was like, straight up on my lunch break, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be going to my truck to check on my cat. And I told him about my truck being in my house. And he thought it was actually cool. And I think, like, I put him down. When guys see me and then see the giant truck, they get weirdly impressed. They're like, that's yours? I'm like, yeah. They're like, that's pretty cool. So yeah. And so I had like an hour break. It was like a 9-hour shift with an hour break. So technically I got paid for 8 hours even. And it was $20 an hour. for my hour break, I basically just came out to the truck. I made dinner because it was a night shift, and sat with Mickey for an hour, and then I went back in and worked 4 more hours. For my little 10-minute break, I basically just stayed there because it was like a 10-minute break. So I got 2 10-minute breaks, one before the meal break and one after the meal break. So, yeah. So that was the Mickey disaster. He's now gone back to the bed now that I've like made him dance with me. uh, um, Patrina Gilbert says, would you have to rent a U-Haul to do Amazon delivery? No, you can do Amazon Flex in a car. In fact, it's for regular cars. Like, the trucks are something Amazon owns, but basically with Amazon Flex, they basically bulk a bunch of stuff together, usually in a certain neighborhood zone, and then you sign up for shifts, and based on the vehicle that you sign up for the app with, that's going to determine, what you're eligible for. So, like, if you sign up with a minivan, that's considered an extra large vehicle. Or even if you have just a regular van, like a regular cargo van, that's considered an extra large vehicle, which can be bad because then they're going to want to give you enough to fill a minivan that's empty or a cargo van that's empty. You don't have to sign up for the extra large ones, though. Like, you can sign up for a smaller amount of packages. I haven't done it in a while, so like this is me sort of spitballing what I remember from doing it. But like Amazon Flex is set up for you to do it from a car, so it's like for their overflow, smaller bulk items. And if you have anything bigger than like a regular car, that's just a bonus. That's just a bonus for them. Yeah, so like as long as you have, the only stipulation they have is like if you have a pickup truck, it has to be one that's covered. You can't have like an open pickup truck that you throw a bunch of packages back there. Like that's not allowed. So whatever you show up in, that's your vehicle, is usable. But the traffic lanes, the way they're designed, I was a big vehicle as a minivan. So if you have anything bigger than a minivan, at least where I was picking up packages, now some of them were outside, but I did a lot that were in the building, and the building was definitely not designed for you to show up in a giant vehicle. It was designed for people who have cars, because that's most of the people signing up for Amazon Flex. So yeah, no, you don't have to rent a U-Haul. Whatever you're driving, they'll take it. Because you're basically helping them, it's going to cost them less to pay you a bulk sum to deliver some packages than having to like employ a driver. Because the thing about a lot of these like apps, is because you're not an employee, that means they don't have to give you health. You're a contract worker. They don't have to give you health benefits. They don't have to guarantee you any number of hours. You're just picking up work. So yeah, you can do it in any vehicle where you have a covered space where you can put packages. So yeah, Amazon Flex was one of my favorites. Doo-doo-doo. Tina's the Outsider says, I haven't done Flex since last March. Do you miss it? Or has it not been available, or just not been working with your style right now? Adventures with Raven and Rowley? Is that it? I've been thinking about getting a second phone to use its USB tethering hotspot. Almost ready for full-time on the road and the internet without a huge cost. I mean, like, a lot of the phone plans now have really great, like, internet attached to it. I would say Visible is great. Like, Visible is really, really great. Ramona Hopewell says, I absolutely hate cooking. Yeah, if it has like more than like 4 steps to it, I'm like, I don't want to bother. Like 4 steps is about my limit for cooking. Tina Zial said you have to drive like 40 minutes sometimes just to start your route, and a lot of times it takes over an hour past the time you were supposed to be done with Flex. I just didn't have that experience. Yeah, sometimes I had to drive a long way to start the route, but after that, almost everything was pretty close. Like most of the time, honestly, with Flex, once I actually got to the area where I was delivering packages, it just didn't take me that long to like drop everything off. James Sermon says Dawn is a rapper. Yes, I love to rap. I love to rap some stuff in a rap and eat it. I am such a rapper. Um, Renea Doze Rider says I love all things Apple. Hey, you like what you like. I'm still Android loyal, reluctantly owning an iPhone right now. I am so behind. People are reacting to the charger thing. I also grabbed the cat and danced with them. So, all right. So I am at for just a little over 45 minutes. So I am going to be scrolling a little bit and just kind of glancing. Kelly B says the best part about my mom's new SE we got her was the wireless charging. Yeah, that's a cool feature. Freedom Dove says, why do these companies insist on fixing things that aren't broken? Money. The answer is always money, because in some way it benefits them. I mean, I get the push towards wireless technology. Like, it makes perfect sense. But don't take away my headphone jack, because sometimes I don't want to use Bluetooth. You know, so let me have my choice between Bluetooth and the wireless head jack. Don't force me out of it by taking it away. You know, yeah, so I don't know. And of course, there's the no charger thing, but whatever. Crafty Traveler says, are you planning on going to Quartzsite? Right now? Yes. I assume you mean in January, close to RTR time. Right now, yes. But all of my plans have to flex and flow around money. Bunny Plays here is happy dancing from my iPhone. Bunny, you are one of the few people I would FaceTime with. But mostly I was happy to be like, you can't FaceTime. I don't have an iPhone. Crafty Traveler says, I have Google Fi and I love it. I've had service going all across the country this summer. I pay $33 a month, but data is limited with my service. Well, it's good to hear it's a good service, though. So, yeah. And if, like, it's working for you, then pay $33 a month. That's kind of awesome. Freedom Dove, thank you for dropping that information into the comment section. Kari Stiegel says, not an iPhone. No one can convince me why it's necessary. All right, Carrie Stiegel, you probably jumped in late. So here's the deal. My other phone was falling apart. I needed to replace it anyway. And basically the deal on this iPhone was darn good, and all I had to do was switch my number over to another provider. So it was the cheapest way for me to replace a phone that was basically on its last legs anyway. Otherwise, I would have stayed Android loyal. I still love my Android. Bunny Plays here. Note to self, randomly FaceTime Dawn. Racer XTV says the sidekick is forever king. Yes. If they had a sidekick out right now, I'd freaking have that phone. That sidekick was the best. Nobody, well, I don't know. What was that phone? Was it called the chocolate where you slid it up? Oh my gosh, that phone was so cool. Like, phones used to be so cool. And phones are still cool, but their features are cool. The designs aren't cool. Except I am interested in, you know, that Samsung Flip? So if I didn't need any more nerd points, I have been becoming a Trekkie. I was not a Trekkie. I was a Star Wars fan. You know, I loved me some X-Files back in the day, but I had not gone so far into nerding that I was a Trekkie. But now, every time I see the new Samsung Flip, the one that opens like this, all I can think is like, it'd be like having a tricorder. So, I'm turning into a Trekkie. If I ever start talking Klingon, I've gone off the deep end of being a nerd, and there's no return. I can't believe I'm turning into a Trekkie. I literally rewatch Star Trek every night at bedtime. I've turned into a Trekkie. um, so now my confession is out there. Uh, I'm going to do some scrolling just because I'm getting close to the hour mark, and I always try to wrap things up by the hour mark. New Gay Day No Regret says, Mickey certainly is calm. My cat would have exploded. Yeah, Mickey usually he's like, she'll stop. She'll stop. She'll stop. Okay, she's done. Freedom Dove says, guys are impressed by little me and my big sub overlander too. LOL. Yeah, it's like, I think like they love it when you're like a contrast to the stereotype. It's like, oh wow, little lady, I didn't expect you to have a really tough vehicle like that. New Day, no regrets. It was just a couple days of a warehouse job. It's already over. But I'll probably pick up some more work down the road. But right now, I'm trying to get a little bit further south before I pick up anything else. My scroll just jumped on me. um, do 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 do. Julianne asks, did I do delivery in the box van? No, it's too big for most of those. Like those apps are built around smaller vehicles. I would be afraid to maneuver this where I used to maneuver my minivan to do deliveries. And like parking was hell. Like you would get to these restaurants because everybody wants food at the same damn time. So it's always lunch or dinner. And so at lunch or dinner, like you're in line with people who are physically at the restaurant. Like I would never do delivery in this box truck. It's different when you are a commercial vehicle that works for a company because things are built around that. I would not try to do delivery in this. It would be a mess. I will find labor work where I show up, I do the labor, then get in my car and leave. And also, if I can avoid using gas to do deliveries, I'm okay with that. I'd rather just show up somewhere and do a labor job for, 8 or so hours if I can. So I actually prefer not doing delivery. For the most part, I didn't like it. Amazon Flex was kind of nice because, like I said, the route was already set. I didn't have to wait for orders. I just picked up things and dropped them off, and I could kind of like just listen to my music without having to worry about like, making a delivery, waiting to pick up the next. It's for some people. It was not for me, and everything depends on the area that you're delivering in. Like, Oakland has annoying hills and narrow streets. And when you're just trying to get in there and drop some stuff off and leave, like, it was a pain in the arse. Like, I hated delivering in Oakland. I hated delivering in San Francisco, even though you can make a ton of money. But it's really those apps are so built around people with smaller vehicles. Like, having a larger vehicle is not an advantage. It's a disadvantage, in my opinion. In fact, I know somebody who lived in their minivan who would not get anything bigger than a minivan because they did, like Uber Eats and DoorDash and stuff like that. And like minivan is about the biggest like she wanted to deal with doing that. Do 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 do. New Day No Regret says, are you paid by hours or packages? For Amazon Flex, you're paid for the job. So they already bulk what the delivery is. And so there's a flat amount for doing that delivery block is what they called it. And so, like, when you signed up for the block, you get all the packages assigned to that block, and then you have to drop them all off, and you get paid for successfully dropping them all off, and you have to scan every time you drop them off. And so once all that is done, then you just get paid for that, and you get to go home. I am reading. Tina, can we not do it tonight? Like, I also need to move the truck after I get off of here. So I need to drive right after this. Right now I'm still in the Target parking lot, and I've been here all day. So I have to move before nighttime. Nancy McIntyre says, I want to go to RTR. I'm reading, guys, so if I'm quiet, it's just because I'm reading. Woo! Liz Carter, what's up? She says, damn, I'm an hour late to the party. My grandbabies were here. Hey, that's great. Spend time with your babies. Did you see someone hijacked your name on your poll question? Yes. I am trying to take care of that. Yeah, they cloned my name and my picture. And we're trying to say something about cryptocurrency. So that is not me. If you see a comment trying to convince you to check out cryptocurrency, that is not me. If you actually click on the name, you'll notice it goes to a different YouTube channel that is not mine, even though it says the Dawn of Van Life, and it only has 1 subscriber. So yeah, if you see a comment about cryptocurrency, I've been trying to delete all of them, and I've already reported the person is spamming, but I don't know how quickly it's going to get taken care of, and there might be a few stray comments out there, but hopefully there won't be future ones. Bunny Plays here, I disagree. Android still is in my heart. But I'll live with the iPhone. Sarah says, I love Star Trek, the original only, though. Next Generation is pretty good. And one of the few Star Treks that I watched when I was younger all the time was DS9. DS9 was awesome. And I can't wait to rewatch it, having gone back and watched some of the older ones. So basically, I've watched the new animated series Lower Decks. I've watched all of Enterprise. And right now I'm watching a lot of TNG. So that's the Next Generation, because I'm a Trek nerd now. And then I'm probably going to go back and rewatch all of the original series, and maybe the animated original series as well, before I move forward to DS9, Voyager, and what's the other one? They all kind of overlap. It's DS9, Voyager, and I'm missing one. Meh. And then I might watch Discovery, but I'm like on the fence. That's the brand new series. The style is just so different. But the Next Generation is cool. I really like the Next Generation. It really holds up for something that started in the 80s and ended in the 90s. Shoot. I just lost where I was. Oh no! Breaking something. Look at my foot. I'm getting old now. It's like, where was I, kids? I don't know where I was. Um, Racer X TV says, Dawn, I had the X Files ringtone back in the day. Oh my gosh, X Files was like my first real fandom, where I was like online all the time talking about it. It was like, I kind of messed that up, but you knew where I was going with that. Renee, I know there is an accessory for headphone jacks, but that's the thing. It's something else you have to buy. It used to just be in the phone. You didn't have to buy anything. Oh, Nancy. Well, I wish you the best on your chemo. You say if I don't get sick, I might go to RTR. Well, I hope that your chemo goes well, rather you make it to RTR or not. Ebony Nicole says, I knew you were cool, Dawn. I'm a huge Trekkie, but The Next Generation is the best series. I love The Next Generation. Like, I'm shocked how much I, like, have fallen in love with that show, man. Oh, man. It's so cool. Captain Picard is just, he's cool. And, like, I remember casually watching the show, but I wasn't that into it. I hate to say that, like, the character I relate to most is freaking Data, because sometimes Data says things, and it's just like, I would totally phrase that way, and I'm like, he's an android, Dawn. It's weird that you're relating to the android. Oops. I'm hitting things. Buddy Plays here says, I see your Trekkie and I raised you Mork and Mindy. Oh my gosh, I forgot about Mork and Mindy. I loved Mork and Mindy when I was a kid. I miss fun episodic shows like that. I like that people were like jumping on me being a Trekkie. I'm not alone. I'm scrolling. I like to tell you guys I'm scrolling so you know I didn't just zone out. Yes, my plan is to go to RTR, or at least be in courtside in January. Like, I don't know that they've made any official announcements, but I think people are going to end up gathering courtside, whether there's an RTR or not, but I plan to go. Unless I missed an announcement. As far as I know, yeah, words. Oh, the string lights look great. That's the reflection on the ceiling, I think. Because, yeah, they're right there. I might get some lights for my windows for Christmas, though. Ebony Nicole, thank you for the $5 super chats. Shout out to the Trekkies. TNG is the greatest crew, and Picard is the greatest captain, but I'm biased. Well, I don't know. I really like Sisko. Like, I think Benjamin Sisko on DS9, and maybe that's just because, like, I really used to... That was one of the few Trek shows I watched as a kid, like, all the time. Like, I'd seen some of the original series. I'd seen... Because then, like, everything went into syndication, so it was just one of those things that was always on in the middle of the day. But, like, Deep Space Nine, like, held my attention where I looked for it. And when I was a kid, TNG didn't, and the original series didn't. It was more like one of those things that when it was on, I would watch it. So maybe now, because I'm older, I just appreciate TNG more. But I still think Benjamin Sisko is one of the best captains as well. I didn't watch Captain Janeway enough to, like, get a big, like... feel on her as a captain. But Picard is the man. I really like Picard. Thank you, Penny in Kentucky. You got them all listed. DS9, Voyager, TNG, Discovery, Picard. Have you watched Lower Decks? Like, I was sleeping on Lower Decks. And it's actually a really clever show if you expect it to be comedy. You know? Michelle Christmas says, I named my dog after the X-Files, Scully. How do I get on these nerd subjects on my live? Am I like the only van lifer? Like, there was one live where we ended up talking about comic books. We talked about phones. And now we're talking about, like, X-Files and Star Trek. My lives are so weird. They get so off the subject of van life. Oh, man. Thomas Thrift says, hey people, what's the RTR? RTR is the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous. It was started by Bob Wells many years ago now. And originally it was just people meeting in the desert, usually around January in Quartzsite in Arizona. And it's sort of gone on every year since. During COVID, there wasn't an official RTR, but I think some people still went out to Quartzsite. Well, there was an online RTR, but there wasn't a Meet in the Desert RTR because of COVID last year. So I'm interested in seeing what they decide to do officially this year. But we'll see. We'll see. I see people mentioning Whoopi Goldberg. By the way, Whoopi Goldberg is in Star Trek The Next Generation. And she's a really good, cool character. Tina's the Outsider said, bring back my Harry Potter, Dawn. J.K. Rowling ruined Harry Potter. It was great until she did Cursed Child and that second Fantastic Beasts movie. They were both terrible. And like, J.K. Rowling will not let the universe go, so she's almost ruined it. Vanlife Short says, well, number one, thank you for the $50 super chat. And you bought up Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes, that is an awesome TV show. I freaking love Buffy and Angel. I watch them both loyally. Oh my God, Buffy is like one of the greatest shows ever. So yes, thank you for pulling that one out. Yes, I have a long nerd list, my friends. Bye, Victoria Hinton. So I've been thinking about, since there's so many nerds in here, I have been thinking about doing this thing called like the Nerds of Van Life to see how many other nerds I can connect with who are also doing van life, but I haven't fully realized how I want to do it. So I'm just putting that out there. That's something I've been thinking about doing, like Nerds of Van Life. We're like, yeah, we live in a van, but we're also big nerds, and like we can get together and do stuff, but I don't know. I haven't really fully realized where I want to go with it. Pop Fizz Paper, what's up? Says TNG, I grew up with it. And Geordie, I'm mispronouncing his name, and Data on my faves. I also like the original movies too. You know what I haven't seen? I've seen the new Kelvin Timeline movies, but I'm actually going to go back and watch all the original movies, because I think I kind of didn't watch them. I saw the series, but I never saw the movies. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, all right. Thomas Thrift says, Archer as captain on Enterprise is absolutely the best of all. Come on. Almost tied and definitely at close second is DS9 with Benjamin Sisko. You know, I liked the Archer character, but I did not think he was a good captain. I hate to say. Like, I liked Enterprise, but I didn't think Archer was, like, the best captain. And some of that was, it was supposed to be Enterprise. It was supposed to be a prequel, so it was, like, the first outing into space. So it's, like, Archer as a character versus Archer as, like, a captain. I would put some of the other captains above him. Even Janeway. Yeah. So Jody McFarlane says, one time I was at a party and people were arguing preference of Star Trek and Star Wars. I was a Star Wars fan first. For the longest time, like, I held on to that. I was like, I like Star Wars. It's like way better than Star Trek. I don't know if that's true anymore. But the discussion ended with this gal stating, yeah, but Star Trek could really happen. Yeah, that's what makes it actually not better. I like that Star Wars has space wizards and magic. But I don't know. Star Trek has magic too, like when you think about it, because Q is a freaking omnipotent being. There's so many like weird things that happen that have sort of this metaphysical element to it. So I don't know. Some elements of Star Trek could happen. I think we're actually headed there. But I don't think that makes it win. I like that Star Wars is a completely like fantastical removed universe. Whereas like Star Trek could become the Jetsons, in that the Jetsons predicted a future that's probably most of it's not going to happen, and we're already past the years in that cartoon. Whereas we might actually get some of the stuff in Star Trek, but because it's actually dated to Earth time, we could get past that point, and none of the Star Trek stuff has happened. Because like when the first Star Trek was in the freaking 60s, so they made up whatever they wanted about the future. It was like far off. But it is interesting how many things that are in Star Trek, like the universal translator, is something that could exist. Like, it's something that is very close to existing, at least among Earth languages. If not to, like, talk to space aliens. So, that stuff is interesting. Nerd. Liz Carter, I do not have my DVD player anymore. It basically broke. So yeah, I don't have it anymore. New Day No Regret said, I agree about Harry Potter. Yeah, she just went on too long with it. Like, she won't let it go. Like, J.K. Rowling, let it go. You're ruining it. And then I get curious about the new stuff. I tell myself, I'm not even going to watch, read, pay attention to the new stuff. Like, I just want to be with those 7 books. And then it's like, well, I get curious, so I have to watch it. And the first Fantastic Beasts movie was great. But that second movie was horrible. And they're going to make another one, and it's probably going to be worse. And oh my gosh, Cursed Child was apparently a beautiful theatrical experience, but a horrible like story to add to Harry Potter. So it's like, if we can just stay in those 7 books. Ebony Nicole says, we totally have to get Dawn to a comic convention one day. We're getting a shout out for Lost in Space. I actually didn't watch Lost in Space. Like, that's one I wasn't really, it kind of bypassed me. I'm loving the Buffy the Vampire love. I'm glad that one got pulled. Like, Buffy is like a classic. That's like one of the best shows. Oh my gosh. Lorenzo Sampson says, even Janeway, haha, I would argue Janeway is one of the best Caps. Adventures with Raven and Ronley said, Star Trek had the first fax machine. Thomas Thrift says, you cut me to the quick of your statement about Archer and putting Janeway above him. Oh, no. Archer's character was meant to be a rough stumbling through learning as you go. Well, that's the thing, though. He just didn't have qualities I would say made him a great captain. He was a good character, but being a good character doesn't necessarily make you a great captain. There could be captains who I don't like as people, where I would still say, as a captain, I see you as a better captain. And it has nothing to do with your character itself. But T'Pol was the I loved me some T'Pol. And I love me some Trip. Like, Trip and T'Pol, I was so happy when that happened. I did like what happened with the Archer and T'Pol relationship, because I think the writers originally wanted to make it romantic, and I really like that by the end, like, she was his best friend. Like, she would have, thrown down for him, and it wasn't about this romantic relationship. It was just like, they were just, they were that number 1 and number 2, like, as much as, like, if I was going to talk about captains and their first officers and those relationships, I would say my 2 favorite there is Archer and T'Pol, and Picard and Riker. Of course, Spock and Kirk, but they're just a classic, so you just take them as the example. But outside of like the original series, which I consider in its own special place, I would say Archer and T'Pol had an amazing relationship as a captain and a first officer that was admirable. I just don't know if you take Archer away from that and I just rank him as a captain, I would put him above some other captains. But as far as captains and first officers, I thought, I'm repeating myself, but you get where I'm going with that. So there we go, Thomas. Hey, it's not fun unless you can have a discussion about it, right? That's kind of why I want to do this thing, like this Nerds of Van Life thing, because that's where you can have those kind of discussions where you like rank stuff like the best captains in Star Trek. Pamela J. Hansen said, "Greetings from a Korean passenger vehicle life nerd. What is up? And welcome to the fam." Irish PMO1 says, "I'm old enough that Lost in Space was the show." Pamela in Kentucky says, "You're too young for Lost in Space, Dawn. Over 50 club nerds." LOL. Well, the weird thing is, I think especially during like the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, well, it was mostly the 80s. I was born in 79. So, like, in the 80s when I was growing up, a lot of those shows were on, because we didn't have streaming then, kids, were in, syndication. So a lot of people became fans of those shows in syndication. I mean, that's how I saw Star Trek, the original series, in syndication, you know. Rita, you missed me dancing with Mickey. Me and Mickey had a whole dance. So you're going to have to watch the replay to see me and Mickey dance. Well, mostly I danced and Mickey thought I was annoying. Ebony Nicole says, Picard, Kirk, Cisco. Everyone else is honorable mention. I don't hate that list, you know. Freedom Dove says, I've long ago lost interest in fiction. Too much going on in the real world for me to take time reading about other stuff, I guess. That's the thing. There's so much going on in the real world. I need to escape. And that's how I escape. Thomas Thrift says, Babylon 5. Need I say more? I haven't seen Babylon 5. I'm going to be honest. I just haven't watched it. Ramona Hopewell says, well, I like Land of the Lost. Blah, nothing like that tricky stuff. T Money says, I love Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch beats all the captains. It's Captain Crunch, Picard, Kirk, Cisco. Captain Crunch is the king of the captains. I love it. Tina's the outsider coming with the bionic woman and the $1 Million Man. That my mom was into those, I hate to say. Lorenzo Sampson, my birthday was almost a month ago now, October the 18th. Terry Newell says, I graduated from high school before you were born. Best science fiction is Doctor Who. I've fallen out of the Doctor Who fandom. So I got into New Who and I watched up until Matt Smith. And then I just kind of got bored with following it. But I did go back and watch some of the original Doctor and a few of the other ones. But I just kind of fell out of the Who fandom. And I think it's because the newer stuff that was coming out was just starting to lose me. Kelly B says, yeah, we didn't have any choice. It wasn't like we had 5 other channels to choose from. So it was syndicated shows or nothing. Yeah, like syndication was how you saw everything. Ramona Hopewell is saying Captain Crunch was the man. Yeah, we decided Captain Crunch is the best captain. Nobody can top him. Cindy says, Dawn, you didn't say Captain Kangaroo. I don't think he Nobody beats Captain Crunch. Captain Kangaroo just can't. Captain Crunch is the man. I'm sorry. It's been decided. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. It was really fun, but yeah, it's a little bit after 7 o'clock right now. We've already gone over the hour mark by a lot, and I do need to move the truck before I can go to sleep tonight. So yeah, I am out for the night. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for talking about Star Trek and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Lost in Space and what else we talk about? Mork and Mindy. And everything in between. All right, good night, everybody.